And it's really good to be here. Really good to be able to spend a few minutes talking with you about one of my passions. And so, you know, I always think that, you know, I think part of why I announce myself is I need to qualify myself, right? When Jeff Walling comes here, you know who that is. You know that John's the minister, and I'm neither of those, right? So, you know, I always feel like that. But on a professional level, right, I moved here to take the appointment of president and CEO of a company called Stewart Film Screen. So we make screens like this, except for Disney World and the Academy Awards and Harvard and things like that. And before that, I was the president of a company called Surgex, which made power protection, no relation. And before that, I ran mergers and acquisitions for a car business that was growing. And so I say all that, right, which is to say that I'm used to being in front of folks who are just ready and willing to rip me apart, right? Going to board meetings, talking about deals, trying to figure out how to make things come to fruition on a business perspective. And all you folks are out here just smiling, right? But it just still feels so oddly uncomfortable to me to be up in this position where I'm normally used to being. So my friends told me just to treat this like a sales pitch or like I'm trying to close a deal, and I'm not going to do that. But as John said, I am going to talk to you guys about something that's important to me, personally, talk about a specific mission that I'm involved in, but then also try to bring some light to really what God says that we need to be doing as it relates to missions. And I will just say I had a sort of a clandestine encounter with Marty in the bathroom right before we were coming in. And he said to me, hey, you know what? Jesus used fishermen. And I have to say thank you, because that really sort of set my mind at ease. And so, so anyway, I want to move to this now, right? Cigars, San Diego, and Sour Patch, right? And I'm just going to put out there to everybody, if you ever go to Mexico with me, I'm going to put it out. And I guess if we want to call it a sin, we'll call it a sin, so I'm a sinner. When I go to Mexico, I will smoke cigars from time to time. It's one of the ways in which we've evolved this work. And there's only one other person I can think of who's on the board of Oasis who may like to enjoy that more than me. It's not James, I'm going to tell you guys that. But I'm going to get back to this. But lots of time, Cigars, San Diego, and Sour Patch Kids. And that'll sort of come back to haunt this discussion over the next few minutes. But, you know, I prayed. I got into the Word, which was an encouragement that John said when he said, hey, you drew the short straw, you have to speak. And I started thinking, you know, what can I do here, right? And after a lot of prayer, a lot of discussion, a lot of talk with, you know, many folks on how to approach this, I did the one thing that any, you know, white-blooded American guy would do whenever they feel like they have to do something, right? I went to Google. And I said, hey, I got to preach, Google. Help me out here a little bit, right? And in doing so, I found a lot of incredible statistics, right? I mean, I was Googling missionaries in the Bible, and I was Googling, you know, missionaries of our time, and Bible references, and statistics, and funny pulpit jokes, by the way, which is a thing that you can Google out there. And so, you know, on the next slide, right, what I learned, and one of the things that came up very first was just the definition, right? An important assignment carried out for political, religious, or commercial purposes, typically involving travel, right? The second one, much more related to, you know, sort of the work of missions. And I said, man, that's a little boring, right? How am I going to take this now and talk about it for 2 hours, right? And, okay, good. So, you know, in the business world, right, I typically say a number incorrectly to see if the board is listening. So now I know you're all listening, right? I'm not going to talk for 2 hours. But anyway, I looked at that. I started to look at quotes from folks who have been doing this for quite some time, you know, outside the Bible kind of quotes. I'm a quotes guy. I've been coaching youth sports for about 20 years before I had kids of my own, and so I can give the Herb Brooks Miracle on Ice speech just about as good as Herb could do right at this point. But I read a few things, and I just wanted to share a few that really started to have an impact on me as I was thinking about this lesson. You know, if you take missions out of the Bible, you have nothing left but the covers. And man, that really hit me, because I started trying to find examples of just what, you know, how do I go about doing this, right? I believe that in each generation, God has called enough men and women to evangelize to all, yet unreached tribes of the earth. It's not God who does not call, it is man who will not respond. And the last one, which was probably the most impactful as I was preparing for this, is that sympathy is no substitute for action. Man, that just really hit me, spoke to me. And so that was really when I started to try to figure out how to approach this, right? And from there, business sort of took over, and I started looking for other hard statistics. And so if you'll pleasure me for just 1 minute, what I'd like to have you do is, if you own an iPhone or have owned an iPhone, right, or know somebody that owns an iPhone, can you stand up for me real quick? Just real quick. A lot of folks, right? A lot of folks who know the iPhone model. You can sit down now. I'm not going to make you do it for the whole thing, but that's right. So in July of 2017, the statistics indicated that there were 1 billion cumulative iPhones that have been sold. As you guys saw, pretty much everybody in here has been impacted by the iPhone, right? So 1 billion, that's a big number. Now think about it from this perspective. The world population is 7.5 billion. And for every one of you folks who just stood up, there's a person who's never heard the words Jesus Christ. Man, that was a powerful, powerful statistic for me. It hit me, and so from there, I started to dig in. And that's what brought me back to this, right? So around 2003, I was at Providence Road in North Carolina, where Jeff Walling was the minister, and I've talked about this before, but there was a real desire to get involved in missions. And so I was part of a team who came down and did some exploratory work in Mexico, all the way from North Carolina. And as part of that process, right, we would fly into San Diego. Generally, we would hit our favorite cigar shop. We would talk about what we wanted to accomplish. And we always had Sour Patch Kids, because you couldn't take chocolates down to the kids. So you had to have something that wouldn't be perishable. And they loved sweets. So we always would take those Sour Patch Kids. And there was always plenty of them. And on one trip, there was a young lady, 13 years of age, there on your left. And she was very excited. I had taught her in the youth group. She finally had an opportunity to go to Mexico. She's there with her family, and man, she really embraced what was happening in Mexico. What I didn't know at the time is something was really starting to work in her life. Something beyond what any of us knew at the time, but something that was very, very special. And so now I go back to the Cigars, San Diego, and Sour Patch, right? We take this trip. We take many other trips after that, right? We start to form relationships with the church in Vicente Guerrero, which was something a little bit unique as compared to other mission trips we had taken that had been what I would call short-term in nature, right? We go in, we accomplish something, we come out, we feel really good, but we don't ever really take that next level of building a relationship. And so for several years, we supported a church. We started to put the church formation in place. We started to try to do different things about outreach, and we found we were struggling. We were struggling because we really couldn't convey to the church there, who was just, that they were folks that were in great need, that it was also their responsibility to reach out into their community as a means by which to bring people into the church. They would get irritated with us, frankly, when we would bring clothes or other supplies or food, and we would even make the suggestion that we needed to go out to the community and share those items rather than just keep them inside the folks who were attending the church. And so over some cigars, much prayer, some reading of the Bible, we said, hey, why don't we just build a building? And so the thought of that was a little overwhelming, right? Because you have to have money, you got to figure out how to work inside of Mexico, you have to sort of have this vision and a call to action in order to do that. And so we prayed about it, and we said, you know what? Me and another guy, Mark Collins, from Indiana, who had become involved in this work, said, God's leading us to do this. Let's just figure out how to do it. And so away we go. We start to build a building. We start dialing our friends and saying, hey, we need money, right? We need help. We need folks who are skilled that can come down and help us accomplish this. Well, what are you going to do? We don't know yet. We're going to build it near the church, and at some point, we are going to use this for God's glory. we didn't really have a clue. And so between the years of 2009 and 10, a lot of folks got involved. We were able to raise a lot of money, and up goes a building. And so we go back to this, and over that time, we're still talking and praying and meeting up at the hotels and giving this candy out to kids, and we don't really know what we're going to do, right, at this point. So one night we're talking about what do we do, where do we want to be, how do we want to get there, and we go to take a break, and somebody throws their Bible down, and when we come back, this page was up. And it was Psalm 78:6 that really caught our attention. So the next generation would know them, even the children yet to be born, and they in turn would tell their children. Then they would put their trust in God and would not forget His deeds, but would keep His commandments. They would not be like their ancestors, a stubborn and rebellious generation whose hearts were not loyal to God, whose spirits were not faithful to Him. And so we said, man, there it is. Part of the reason why we're in this place right now with the current generation is they have kind of become hardened by the environment in which they grow up. We need to use this building to do something to help the next generation of kids, right? Is that a preschool? Is that a school? Is that what does this look like? And we just kept hitting dead ends. Until finally we decided that, hey, maybe the answer is not to force it. What we know, our folks have to go to work early in the morning, and they're leaving their 8 and 5 and 7-year-olds at home to tend for themselves while they go out. And that had been very impactful to me, as I had shared, because I was in the process of having children and thinking about the idea of just leaving my kids at home. And so, wow, this is where the impetus of Oasis came. And I appreciate James bringing that up as a prayer today, because it is important. And so we started Oasis. We went forward with no real idea on how to do it, except that out of the blue, we get a call from this skinny little kid here. And she says, hey, I'm graduating from Pepperdine University. I have been going down to the Baja since I was 13 years of age, and I would just really, really like to figure out how to get involved with you guys. And we said, hey, guess what? We've got the building. We know we want to do something with the kids. Help us figure it out. And so in July of 2011, we had a mission trip, and at the end of it, we said, hey, call us if you need us. But we didn't really mean it, right? We just wanted her to get it done. We didn't really want her to call us. And so she stayed there and really started to figure things out. And I couldn't really do it justice to really explain what she does day to day. And so I thought I might give her a couple of minutes to say it on her own.
I'm the director of a nonprofit called the Oasis After School Program, and we are located in Vicente Guerrero, which is in Baja, California, Mexico, about 5 hours south of the border in San Diego. And our mission statement is to partner with communities to create hope and opportunity for children and their families by providing education, mentoring, nutrition, and love. And we opened in 2011, so now we are in our 6th year. We have about 130 kids in our program and 30 or so that are on the wait list waiting for a spot to get in. We also have around 20 staff members right now who are full-time at the program. And the kids come to our program after school, and they come to be in a safe place instead of being home alone, because a lot of their parents get off work really late, and so when the kids are out of school, their parents aren't home yet. So they come to us, and here at the program they receive one-on-one tutoring. They also get special classes that they don't get in school, and some of those include English classes, Bible classes, computer classes. We also teach them life skills, arts and crafts, and different things like that. Oasis is supported by most 100% donations. So we run off of donations from individuals, from families, from businesses, locally, and from the United States, and also from churches. So why did we name our program Oasis? We decided to call Oasis by this name because of the image that the word represents. And to us it represents a place of rest, a place of refuge, typically in the middle of a desert, where you can come and it's filled with life and you can be refreshed. And so we wanted to create that kind of environment here for the kids, and we really want to thank all of our supporters for helping us create an oasis here for the children. And we also want to make the invitation to all of you, if you want to come and visit us, we invite you to come and experience this true oasis.
It's still really amazing to me how God works, right? A kid who is, you're working with in a youth group, who's coming to church, who goes on a trip randomly and gets set on fire. And she takes it beyond just having a dream, right? She listens to what God is saying to her. She listens to her own heart. And she puts that dream into action. And so now today, Oasis, as mentioned, we partner with communities to create hope and opportunity for children and their families by providing education, mentoring, nutrition, and love. And so, a lot of times, as a board member on Oasis here, I get asked, well, you don't ever mention Jesus in here. And that's true. We don't. We tend to focus on the physical needs, and that leads into the spiritual needs of these young kids. But it's really important for us that we stay focused not just on the church, but on the community that surrounds it as a means by which we can bring in folks to the church. And so for a minute, right, as I continue to read in the Bible, there were many, many occasions when God tells us, in fact commands us, that we need to be involved in missions. In fact, in Matthew, right, this is the Great Commission, one that everybody knows, right? Therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you, and surely I am with you always to the very end of the earth, right? What I find significant about this passage is that, Jesus has lived on the earth for over 30 years, and his last opportunity to say something to folks, and he tells them, right? This is my vision. I need to put you guys in action now as my hands and feet. In Acts, again, Luke's talking, right? But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes on you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem and in all of Judea and Samaria and to the ends of the earth. Luke's describing the power of the Holy Spirit there. And it's a powerful gift. But the end of it, right, is that you're going to be my witnesses to the ends of the earth. And then again in Mark, as I read, another very powerful verse. He said to them, go into all the world and preach the gospel to all of creation. Laying out a vision, putting that vision into action, and not just having one or the other. Because action without a vision, right, is just activity. And so you have to have both that fit together, and that's laid out really nicely for us in the Bible. And so I want to have Carly speak to you again just for another couple of minutes. She talked to you a little bit about what the program is. Now I want her to share with you exactly what a day in the life of Oasis looks like.
I don't have to describe poverty. You know what it looks like. I don't have to describe abuse, addictions, or broken families. I don't have to describe cute kids. You know what they look like. I don't even have to describe Mexico. A lot of you are familiar with it. But in this dusty, dry, often depressing town, there is a special place very dear to my heart, an oasis I would like to describe. Directions here often go like this. Drive up the boulevard, turn right at the yellow corner store, drive down the dirt road, past the graffitied hospital wall, and you'll see it right in front of you, the colorful Oasis building. Come inside and you will find a vibrant, joyful place filled with kids. It's a community after-school program designed
designed to mentor and tutor kids in one of the roughest neighborhoods in town. So, what's a day like at Oasis? Well, there's the usual activities. We take attendance, make coffee, help kids do their homework, do arts and crafts, teach kids to use computers, teach English and nutrition, serve the kids a nice meal, teach the kids about the Bible, and watch kids play. And then there's also the not so fun things, like organizing the closet, fixing broken things, and my least favorite part of the day, sending the kids home, closing the gate, and releasing the guard dog. Though most days follow the same basic routine, as I drive away each day, I like to think about special moments. Moments like this, watching one of our teen girls give her life to Christ and get baptized. My favorite thing about Oasis is that the kids come on their own. They want to be here, and when they come to us, we can guide them and help them run to the true Oasis we find only in Jesus.
So, as you can see, right, our ultimate goal is to bring safety and clothing, shelter, education, and nutrition with love to these kids. But ultimately, the goal is to bring these children to Jesus Christ. And that's what Carly is working on at Oasis every day. I want to read one more passage to you. It's one that's very well known, but I think it's important sometimes when we think about these things just to remind ourselves and try to take different meanings out of passages. As I was preparing and reading this parable of the Good Samaritan, which starts in Luke. On one occasion, an expert in the law stood up to test Jesus and said, "Teacher," he asked, "what must I do to inherit eternal life? What is written in the law?" He replied, how do you read it?" He answered, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your strength, and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself." "You have answered correctly," Jesus replied. "Do this and you'll live." But he wanted to justify himself, so he asked Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" In reply, Jesus said, "A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So too, a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring olive wine on his body. Then he put the man on his own donkey, brought him to the inn, and took care of him. The next day, he took 2 denarii and gave it to the innkeeper. 'Look after him,' he said, 'and I will return. When I return, I will reimburse you for any extra expense you may have.' Which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of the robbers?" The expert in the law replied, "The one who had mercy on him." Jesus told him, "Go and do likewise." And while I have read that passage probably 100 times growing up, those words at the end really stuck with me, "Go and do likewise." There are so many things that we can debate as different denominations and certain aspects of the Bible that some folks may say are ambiguous. I don't think that's the case. I think here there could be anything more clear when he gets to the end of this and he's talking about the need to go out and help folks and teach them the good word. And he just ends with words that are so succinct and clear. Go and do likewise. And so I want to tell you just a quick story, and then I will wrap up. I know this guy, and he loves to fish. And there was one occasion when he was going down actually to the Sea of Cortez and was going fishing. He was taking his son, he was taking several of his friends, and it's a long trip from this area, right? A really long journey. You have to, I think, have gas tanks, spare gas tanks in order to just keep your tank filled as you make your way across. And so they go fishing, have a great time. They're exhausted. The wife is angry because he's fishing and not at home, and so he needs to make his way back back up to the States in order to continue on with life. And along the way, this group of boys say, hey, I know this gal, and we'd like to stop and see her. And he said, how do you know a girl that's in this part of the country, right? Well, went to school with her, and we'd like to just stop and say hi. And so as I've heard the story in the past, right, I understand that probably one of these gentlemen, I won't say who, really sort of wanted to date this young lady. And as this person has described it to me, many of the guys had a 0% chance of dating this woman, and certain of them had less than 0% chance of dating this woman. But nevertheless, as tired as he was, he said, hey, I'll stop, I'll give you 2 minutes, and then we're hitting the road because I need to get home. And so they stopped, and this person was Carly Dallas. And the gentleman was James, and that's why I asked him to come here today, because he has been just such an example to me, and I kind of want to lift him up a little bit here as part of my preparation, because had he not stopped, and what he doesn't realize is our board at Oasis, we have been praying, being in North Carolina, how do we find somebody who's over here who can do more for us and help us to carry on our goal at Oasis? He stops. He definitely concludes that these boys have no chance of dating Carly Dallas. But he also says, man, this is a really interesting work that you've got going on here. Tell me more. And from that one conversation, he gets connected with the board at Oasis. That Jesus Christ intended when he was here on the earth. Vision without action is merely a dream. Action without vision just passes the time. Vision with action can change the world. And so I'll conclude with this. God sent his son Jesus down to earth because he had a vision. He had a vision that we were going to sin and that he wanted us to be saved so that we could live eternally with him. In fact, he says so, right? For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. As you think about those words, it brings this really to life for me. The ultimate vision, the ultimate set of actions with him dying on the cross. And if you're here today and haven't experienced that, don't know about Jesus Christ, somebody is here to talk to you today. Oasis is important to me, and I hope to make it important to everybody out in this audience someday, or at least give them the chance to experience that. But ultimately, as our mission statement says, whether it's in Mexico, whether it's in Myrtle Beach, whether it's in Mission Viejo, whether it's down the street at the Habit Burger after church, we have an opportunity to be missionaries. We have an opportunity to potentially talk to someone who's hurting, or talk to someone who may not know Jesus Christ, or give somebody a little bit of food, or tell somebody that you care about them when nobody has talked to them for many months. And listen, I look over it all the time, right? Lunch hour comes, I need to get into the In-N-Out Burger, I need to go, and so I step in front of that elderly couple to get in front of them because I'm in a rush. It's human nature. We have to stop and take a breath and remember, right? Don't just dream, put it in action, right? And with that, I don't know if I'm at 20 minutes or not, but that's it.
Hey, let's show our appreciation. All right, wow, awesome. So go and do likewise. So I want to encourage us as a church. There's a lot of works that we support, and at the same time, God has brought this to us and sent Shannon and his wonderful, amazing family to be a part of what God's doing here. And thank you for that vision. And so let's pray and see, how can we go and do likewise? How's God calling us to participate in this work? If you are interested in this work and actually maybe going to Mexico and helping out down there with Oasis, if you're interested in financially supporting Oasis, let me know. Let's talk, let's pray, and see where God takes this. What an amazing vision. I would like to close this out in prayer. Thank you again so much for coming and being a part of this church family. If you're a guest here, we want to just say welcome again to this place. Let's close in prayer.